Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first online town hall. Really excited to have you here. Just want to welcome you and, share our gratitude for all of you for being here and for your support as we launch our new center. I want to also share that, the people that you see and hear from today are representing a large team of people who have been working very hard to get this whole effort started. And I just want to express my gratitude for them and for their work. And I also want to say thank you to our funders, the Institute for Educational Sciences, the U.S. Department of Education. Their support and this whole enterprise wouldn't be possible without them. So just really grateful for them, for their work today. So thank you. With that, we'll get started. Just want to give you a sense of our agenda today. First, we will review our mission, tell you a little bit about us here at the National Disability Center. We're also going to share with you some of our early data, some of the findings in our first few months in existence. We've got some information we'd like to share with you and really give you a sense of the foundation for where we're going for the rest of this 5-year project. And then we will have the stars of our time together today, or it's a student and faculty panel. We have one of our student fellows and one of the members of our leadership team. They will be sharing their insights both about the center and about the work that we're doing here. And throughout, and especially at the end, we're going to welcome your feedback, welcome your thoughts as we continue to shape our research agenda as we go through this project. If you have any technical issues, we've had technical issues, please do stick them in the chat and we will do our best to help you out. There is a link there to accessibility tips, just in case you need them. Okay. So a bit of an overview about who we are here at the National Disability Center. Again, our funder is the Institute of Educational Sciences. We are a center for research that focuses on the post-secondary success for students with disabilities. We have an ambitious agenda of 10 studies in 5 years. We've already touched on at least 3 of them, so we're gotten off the ground running. And we're looking at issues that affect the students, our faculty, and the institutions themselves. We're looking at 2-year programs, technical training programs, and 4-year colleges and universities. So really a broad range of higher education settings here in the United States. And one thing we really emphasize is the collaborative model of our work. We really engage with students, especially disabled students, about their perspectives, about their experiences and their insights about what makes higher education successful. We also partner with faculty from interdisciplinary areas. We have people from the School of Information, the School of Education, engineering, liberal arts, and so forth. So it's really important to emphasize that our model is a collaborative mentoring model where we are all learning from each other every day. The last thing to emphasize is that we do have data partners, people who we work with their specific areas of expertise. So this is either in research, evaluation, but also in outreach and how we engage with the community. And I think you'll see some examples of that collaborative model as we continue today. So what motivates us? When I first saw this statistic from the CEC, that 1 in 4 people have a disability at any given time, it kind of took me aback. As someone with disabilities myself, I didn't know that I had such a large peer group. Some disabilities people are born with, some they acquire during life, some are temporary, some are permanent. And this whole idea of what a disability is something that's deeply personal. We focus on disability because it touches so many people in our higher education population. That 1 in 4 statistic gets you to 4 million college students in the US. It's a lot. So that's what drives us, is we want to make sure that all students, including our students with disabilities, have equal access to learning and career development opportunities. So our mission, laid out in our materials online and in our logic model, and how we design our work, is to create that foundation, that actionable foundation with practical, real, everyday life actions to support disabled student success in higher education. And we do this through research. We collect data using mixed methods, some survey data, some secondary analysis, focus groups and interviews, and really talking with people in higher education, both students, faculty, and staff, about their experiences and how we can make it better for disabled students. So that's why we're here. And that's what we hope to do in the next 4.5 years, now that we have left, is building that foundation. So our stakeholder groups, we have 4 key stakeholders. And I'll say there's a fifth that doesn't get mentioned directly, but is very much a part of our environment. So first is students themselves. This is research with, by, for, and of disabled students. They are an integral part of who we are and how we operate. We also know that there are instructors across this country, faculty in higher education, that want the best for their students. They're in that classroom every day. They're in the lab. They're in the field. We want to understand their experiences and how we can best support them in their work with students in higher education. We also focus on our institutional leadership, on our administrators and staff. Often this will include disability service offices, but it also includes admissions, enrollment, retention programs, and career advancement. The fourth group is a group of researchers. This is the Center for Research and of Research. And we are both building a pipeline of experienced, knowledgeable researchers with disabilities themselves, but also a knowledge base for researchers to use as they continue to investigate the disabled student experience in higher education. So there's a methodological piece to this as well. And you'll see that in some of our early studies. So that fifth group that I mentioned are those families. Every student with a disability has people, families, friends, their network, parents, siblings. They're also part of the environment that fosters student success. So we make sure that we remember them as well as they seek to support their young adults and sometimes older adults through their college experience. Okay, so I'm going to transition to a finding from one of our earliest studies. You know, I mentioned we have 10 studies in 5 years. This is study 1.5 in a way. And it's the Campus Accessibility Measure, CAM, and it's the development process. So one thing that we really want to make sure that we do is when we develop a new survey or a new measure, that we really engage with disabled students in making sure we're measuring things that matter, that they clearly understand what the measures are about, and that they value what those outcomes are. So what I'm going to share with you are some data from our early interactions with students, both in a quantitative and qualitative approach. So here's our first data finding. Talking about disclosure. So disclosure is when you reveal your disability to another person, just a basic definition. And when we talk about disclosure of disability, it's a sensitive thing sometimes. There's definitely some vulnerability involved. There's a lot of stigma against disability in some places. And so making that disclosure is something that is a decision that disabled students, take seriously, and it sometimes can weigh heavily. But it's also how you gain access to supports, to flexibility, and sometimes accommodations. So knowing more about what students think about the disclosure process is one of the early topic areas we're going to be addressing. So the first thing we asked students in this pilot measure was, at what level did you make disclosed? Did you share about your disability? And the first thing you'll see on this slide is that 65% of the participants in our early research shared information about their disability with their friends, with their peer groups, 65%. So 35% kept it private, 65% shared with friends. The second thing we asked about was, did you share information about disability with your instructors, or at least one instructor? And what you see here is that 57.5% of students in our early research said that yes, they did share information about their disability to their instructors. It's not just much more than half. So we were kind of surprised at how low that was, but also not surprised, because we know that disclosure rates go down significantly when students move from high school to college. Totally different system. The last question we asked was, did you disclose your disability to a disabilities office, or an official part of the institution? Typically the office that helps you get accommodations. And you'll see that that number was 55%, or slightly lower than the disclosure to instructor. So this provides us with a couple of key insights as we go forward. The first is students are making decisions about disclosure. And it does vary if you're talking about personal context or educational context. From a measurement perspective, if we ask students, did you go to services for students with disabilities? That's an underrepresentation of the disabled student population on campus. And we see a lot of the data and research out there right now focuses on accommodations use. What we hope to do is to understand both accommodations use, but also how are they communicating about their disability outside of those official channels. Okay. I'm now going to share a quote with you that came out of some of our early work that really helps to capture some of these underlying issues that are happening with students. I'm going to read this to you. When I first came to college, I did not know that my mental health disorder was considered a disability. I also had no idea I was able to qualify for accommodations. The accommodations have helped me out tremendously with my coursework. So a few really key things there. Not all students who arrive on campus know that they might have a disability. We talk about that transition period from high school to college as being one that has many different challenges to maintaining the support and accommodations they might have had. Something else is that we talk about the mental health crisis on campus, especially since COVID. The mental health crisis has become something that is, we talk about mental health resources, but we also talk about students not knowing that there are resources to help them in their academic life. So they may think, okay, I can go get therapy or counseling services from my campus office. But they may not be aware that there are academic supports that can be brought into their learning environment to help with mental health conditions. I've been having conversations with different parts of our campus here at the University of Texas at Austin, and they say that this is a prevalent issue, this gap between understanding what mental health is as a disability and where to go for help, not just in therapy, but also in getting through their academic program. Okay, now it's your turn. I'd like to start a poll. So what issues are most important to you? And I think you get to pick one. So there should be a poll on your screen. I'm hoping this works. And you get to pick one. Improve accessibility, understanding disabled experiences, reducing ableism, inclusive instruction, addressing the mental health crisis, and embracing intersectionality for the multiple identities that students hold. I'll give you a minute. Most folks have responded. So let's see. We see reducing ableism is coming up as 38%. And that's probably the heart of the issue. Really difficult to understand ableism if you're not aware of it. And it's also one of the most important things that affects everything you do for students on campus. Looks like number 2 is improving accessibility. So really being aware of your institutions and your programs online or in person, and where those access issues might need to be addressed more proactively. And we seem to have a relatively even amount of people who are thinking about the disabled experience or instruction or embracing intersectionality. Each of these things are a part of our research agenda. And it's really helpful to see what you guys are holding as a priority. So thank you for your input. So what I want to do now is to give you a sense of what's coming up in the at the National Disability Center. What are some of the things that we're looking forward to as we move into the last part of our first year and into our second? So the first thing is that our national student survey just closed, And we are going to be analyzing those results very quickly in the next few weeks and starting to do some of those more in-depth investigations on what does it mean for what does an accessible campus look like? One thing to be aware of is that we asked this question of all students, whether they identified or disclosed a disability or not. The other thing that we are really looking forward to is some more interviews and qualitative experiences. Being able to get a better understanding of how students with intersectional identities are experiencing accessibility on campus or in their higher education. We're going to be releasing the measure itself, the accessibility measure, once it's been validated. Get some of those, psychometric properties figured out. And that will be free for people to use. And we'll create some training around that on our framework on accessibility, and also what do those measures look like. We'll be launching some more online resources. So you'll see our website has been through launch mode. And once our findings and our research results start to come online, we will put them there. We will be posting this town hall. And then we're going to be developing a set of courses that really seek to take the findings of the Disability Center, of those who are also working in the field, the literature that exists, and making it digestible for our stakeholder groups. So those are some things to look forward to. In the fall, we'll be starting a new series of studies. We're focusing on faculty, really thinking about the teaching and learning enterprise. We also will be welcoming some new student fellows and expanding their experiences here at the center. So we have a busy next few months coming up as we finish up year one and go into year two. And we look forward to sharing that with you. So our second poll is, which of the following most interests you? Some of these I went over. Is it the online classes and resources? Is it the survey results and focus group insights? Is it the new research measures? We have measurement people out there. Teaching strategies and case studies, or all of the above? And I'll give you a minute. Okay. So we have a lot of all of the aboves, which we're excited to see. So thank you for that. And then I'm really, I'm curious to see that the online classes and resources and survey results. So seeing if we can focus on those and our dissemination, we'll definitely do that. So thank you. Thank you for helping us look at that scope of work. But all of the above is definitely a good one for us to make sure we cover each of those things in our different newsletters and our newsfeed posts, social media posts, and making sure that you have access to that information as soon as it's available. So now my absolutely wonderful, wonderful colleagues, I'm going to be bringing on two of the folks that make this place the amazing place that it is. So first, I'd like to introduce Desirée Lama. Can Desirée come on screen?
I'm on screen.
Are you? Okay. All right. Thank you. Can't see everything. Here you are. So Desirée Lama is a PhD student here at the University of Texas at Austin in the Human Development, Culture, and Learning Sciences area. I met Desirée, gosh, are we at 3 years now? Maybe a little longer.
A little
When
longer.
she was when she was an undergraduate and a standout student, absolute delight. And I think you'll get to know Desirée more when she introduces herself, but she is one of the student fellows on our project and has made a huge impact by co-leading that college accessibility measure process. She's had a huge influence on our thinking. Second person I'd like to bring on is Dr. Andrew Dillon. There he is. All right. Dr. Dillon hails from the other side of campus in the School of Information. I'll have him explain what that is because it's a bit of a unique space. Andrew is a visionary. Andrew is part of our leadership team. Andrew is one of the most humble people I've ever met. And his insights about how faculty think, how we learn from our students are things that I always treasure. So Dr. Dillon will be also sharing about himself in his introduction. But just want to say that I'm thrilled to have you both here today. I hope you get two very well-rounded points of view of our work here. So our first question is this. Please tell us about yourself, your role at the National Disability Center, and what drew you to be a part of this collaborative experience. And I'm going to start with Desirée because we are disabled student centered in everything we do, including our webinars.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, Stephanie, for that wonderful introduction. Like Stephanie already said, I am a second year doctoral student here at UT Austin in the Department of Educational Psychology. And I'm currently a student fellow, but I will be transitioning to the leadership team come this June. So I'm super excited about that. Mainly my role at the National Disability Center is co-leading the accessibility measure, or CAM. This process started this past summer and it's been very collaborative, from just cultivating the survey questions to receiving feedback from essentially everyone inside and outside of the center. We first piloted this survey at UT Austin and it received rounds of feedback until we were able to finalize all of the questions and all of the wording in the questions to send it out nationally. And that has been a very enriching experience for me as a student and as a researcher. I have learned a lot. It was my first time co-leading something, so I had to put on my big boy shoes and just really immerse myself in this experience. Um, what drew me to be a part of this disability center is just working with Stephanie. I've worked with her for years and I know everything she does is amazing. So I knew it would be an amazing opportunity for me as an educational psychologist and as a person, because I'm continuously learning being a part of the center. Um, Also, my personal experiences with disability, I myself identify as disabled, along with all of my other intersectional identities. Um, so I really want to bring that to the center just to give us a different perspective and kind of change the way we think about disability in higher education.
Thank you, Desirée. Andrew.
Well, first, thanks for the introduction, Stephanie, and hello to everybody. I'm really happy to be here today. So I'm a psychologist by background, and my special area of interest has always been the design of new technology, particularly the user experience of that technology. And I began to become very aware through talking to students, teaching students, that there was a very significant gap in my own understanding of disability and accessibility in terms of design. And I thought, I really need to do something about this. Looking at that problem, when you realize, as Stephanie said, that 1 in 4 students may actually report a disability, made me aware that I just am unable to tackle this on my own. So I wanted to work with people who were similarly concerned and could actually educate me, and I could be part of their education so that we could actually improve this situation, because I'm very committed to our research actually having impact in the world. So when the opportunity came to work with the Centre and to work with Stephanie and the other fantastic people that form the team here, I couldn't wish for a better opportunity. So I'm really looking forward to the work ahead, and I really do want to have an impact.
I think that's something that's true for everyone who's on this team, is that they want to make a difference. And they're looking for ways to do that, both small and large, and collectively.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, our second question for you today. Describe how your experiences with disability and accessibility have shaped your thinking about student success, specifically. Andrew.
Well, several years ago, one of the students in my class who very obviously had a disability raised my own awareness of the challenges that are involved in this. So at a very simple level, he found access to the classroom quite difficult because he was in a wheelchair. And that it was interesting because we have an ADA compliant building, yet still he seemed to struggle with things. And getting to know him and actually walking around the building with him to see the space with his eyes opened my own eyes to the innumerable, frequent, small inconveniences that made life in the school difficult. And I don't just mean learning, I don't just mean the classroom, I mean just having access to the building and having access to resources. When you start to realize then, if you've ever tried a screen reader, for example, it feels like you've gone back a century in terms of technology. Yet the intent of all of us is to provide a learning, successful environment. And we believe the university offers the opportunities for people of all kinds to learn. Yet the obstacles that we continue to place in people's way are invisible to many of us, but they're very, very visible and very real to anybody who's suffering from a disability. So it was from just working and interacting with students, both in terms of them talking to me and in terms of them producing work in my class. It really was a moment where I thought, you know, I thought I understood the idea of really designing with people in mind. I was so unaware and so naive in my assumptions about people and the way we could improve things with design. Everything about the student experience, not just in the classroom, but in the way they even ask for an accommodation, which requires them to go through offices and procedures and forms of communication, which in and of themselves can be a challenge, made me think we have to really, really stand back and redesign the whole learner experience. So if student success, all student success is our goal, I think we have to do some serious soul searching and some serious research and make some serious commitments to improving the world.
Thank you, Andrew. The call to action there, right at the heart of it. Desirée?
So my personal experiences with disability really have shaped the way I think about student success. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2016, but I experienced my first symptoms around 2013 or 2014. So I've been living with this condition for well over 10 years. But it wasn't brought to my attention that MS is considered a disability up until 2 or 3 years ago. I was filling out a job application, and at the end, it asks you 2 questions. It asks if you have a disability and if you're a veteran. And under the disability question, it lists examples, and I saw that MS was on there. So I was like, huh, like I never knew that. No one ever told me that. I never knew that there were resources out there to further support me in my personal life and as a student. So that was a really pivotal moment in my life in general, in all regards. I really thought about how many other students are out there that don't know that their conditions are considered a disability. And from that lack of knowledge, they don't know that there's resources and support for them. I'm a big advocate for support systems, and that doesn't necessarily always have to be family and friends. It can be a support system at your work, at school, wherever you need support. So I think that just that lack of knowledge, similar with the mental health crisis, I've had friends and family who don't know that there's more accommodations out there for them for whatever they need. So it really just kind of pushed me in thinking like, wow, like disability is very broad. And I think when we're talking about higher education, we need to let students know all of the disability categories and everything that falls under them, just so they know that they can receive accommodations, they can get support um, to succeed in college and beyond that. So I think that is also a key aspect of the center.
Thank you. I think, one of the comments in the chat says there's a gap between ADA compliant and true access.
Yeah.
We need ADA. We also need true access.
Yes.
Both are true. Thank you. Okay. So as you think about the center launch, we now are a few months in. What's something about the work of the National Disability Center that you would like people to know, the good people? What would you like them to know? Whoever would like to go first. Is that
Okay,
you, Desiree?
Yes, I can go first. I just want to reiterate this because I think it's so important that the center is student-centered. We really focus on the experience of the disabled student. And I've always loved that about Stephanie's work because outside of this, I never really saw that. It was always like faculty and instructor centered. Um, but with research, like we're trying to help the students. So it's important that we hear from the students themselves, because if we don't understand what they're going through, how can we give them the support that they need? Um, Even in the campus accessibility measure survey, there were a lot of questions that were sensitive, and we needed to use the wordings that like made the student feel comfortable enough to share their experiences with us, because we wanted to let them know that we're a safe space and that we're going to use that information to help them at the end of the day. Another aspect of the center that I really like is how collaborative it is. I think with the campus accessibility measure, that was the most collaborative like work I've ever like been immersed in. We got feedback from everyone, and it was like down to like simple wording that we didn't really think about, but then other people were like, hey, like maybe you should use something else, maybe this makes more sense. So I just really want to like focus on how collaborative the center is. There's so many people from different backgrounds and experiences, and I think that's what gives us such like enriching like conversations and moments in the center.
I'd follow up, Desiree. Do you have any words of advice for students in, a few years behind you, things that you didn't know that you wish you had? Do you have any words of advice?
Yeah, I think again, support systems. I think just finding your people that you can disclose information to and feel safe around. I think that's really helped me throughout college, throughout undergrad, and getting into this PhD program. I think just a like group of people behind me that's just helps me like get through the days. Also there's like I have a huge support system here like in university. So I think that's just something that's really, really important, and I always like hone in on that.
Well, you support others, and so they support you. It's definitely a two-way street. Andrew, what would you like people to know about the Disability Center?
Well, in a nutshell, I'd like them to remember that they are part of it and actually to invite people in to be part of it. It's a national disability centre. It isn't a UT disability centre. And the goal is really to change the way higher education looks at, treats and understands and responds to the 1 in 4 students that we're talking about. If you told any faculty member that 25% of students had a particular need that was being unaddressed, I think most of us would be shocked that we had such an oversight or such a blind spot. Yes, but that is the reality of it for many reasons, disclosure, awareness. But most of us in the world are well disposed. We actually do want to improve the situation. And the first part of doing that is to acknowledge that we don't actually have the answers. So when I say I want to invite people in, it's because parents know more about this through their children. Students know more about this than the faculty. Administrators need to know about this. The staff in universities need to know about this at all levels, from housing up to canteens, to interfaces where people are actually gaining information on how to register. We have a complete environment that needs to be adjusted and redesigned, I would say. We can't do it alone. We need people to be involved. So I encourage people not to sit there and think, okay, let's just see what these people tell us and what they throw out in terms of reports. Come in and participate whenever you can. Come in and ask us questions, tell us stories, and feel that you're part of this, because this is a moment where I think a centre like ours can have a huge impact. And I personally want people to know that their involvement is welcome, that there's a gap between the intentions, the good intentions of faculty and staff in universities and their ability to actually resolve it. And the centre is trying to bridge that gap. But I want people to participate and help us do it.
Thank you, Andrew. I just reminded, I had a conversation this morning about study abroad. So one of the things that students, look forward to is a chance to experience other cultures. And at the end of the hour, someone said, do we have to think about access? And of course, if that's part of what we are doing here at this institution, we do need to think about access. And as I was chatting with the leader of the program, I said, I'm really glad you asked that question. On your checklist of things to ask, could you put that higher in the list, earlier in the hour, so it doesn't get rushed and overlooked at the end? So there are lots of folks who are working in different ways, and I really think that there is a movement towards and a pivot and a shift that can happen. Okay, I want to say thank you to you too. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you are the highlight of this hour, but we're just going to wrap up. So say goodbye. Say thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, you too. Okay. One of the things, again, collaborative, is we are collaborative with our evaluation team here at the Meadows Center for Preventing Educational Risk, MICPER. We work together throughout this process. We have a logic model that we co-developed that you can find on our website. We're together in every leadership team thinking about not just the activities of the center, but the iteration and improvement that we can engage in. So we're going to ask for your feedback and take a survey. It's quick, maybe a minute, maybe 2. There's a QR code on your screen. There is a link in the chat. We ask you to just take a minute. Let us know what you thought of this town hall. If anyone has a question or something that we can answer while we wait, please do stick it in the chat or in the Q&A. I'm happy to address, either here or outside of here. Love to know what's on your mind if you have something you'd like us to address. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and let you get a sense of what you can do to engage with us, as Dr. Dillon said. So here are some ways you can stay in touch. I would remiss not to say that social media, please do join us on social media. Instagram and LinkedIn are two very strong places to find us. You can find our addresses at the website. Please do subscribe to our newsletter if you've not already. I know a lot of you did during the registration process. That's awesome. I want to point out the communications network. And I know some of our members are here, and I'm really grateful for your presence. Thank you for being here. There's a link in the chat where you can check out this communication network, which is a group of organizations and individuals where we agree to share out information both from you to us and from us to you. So it has a sense of it. It's a kind of an expanded newsletter that you'll get every month, but it includes language and logos and spotlights of other centers, of other folks who are in the network. Again, it can be individuals, and the work that you're doing. So that communications network is kind of our ambassador program. You can think of it that way. We would be happy to have you. Please do join. In the chat, you'll also see links to LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And we do engage with folks in that way. So really look forward to also seeing what you're up to. And then lastly, we plan on having another town hall in the fall. And we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of your afternoon.